folks, welcome back to Owen Texas Football and welcome back to the Winning Drive. I'm lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers, pleased to be joined by fellow lifetime Longhorn, the young prodigy C.J. Vogel, and also our own coach, former high school football coach at Vernon, Capel, Brownwood, Belton, Rotan, also played college football at Abilene Christian and coached there as well, was on the staff at the University of Texas for multiple head football coaches. And these days you can catch his work at boom, right there. ShipleyRanches.com. It's our own Coach Bob Shipley. What's going on, Coach? How you doing?
Not much. How you guys doing today?
Oh, man, feeling good. We're so close to football season now. I mean, there's preseason football on tonight, if I'm not mistaken. You got some preseason games, so we can get into that coming up. You did have CJ was down on the 40 acres. There were player availabilities earlier today, so we'll start with what the players had to say with the player availabilities. Steve Sarkisian had a great interview with Vince and with Mac on their new podcast, The Stampede. I want to get into some of the things that he had to say on that platform as well. And then, of course, whatever you guys want to talk about, you drive the show in any direction you want to. Super Chats jump to the front of the line. You can interrupt the show at any time, talk about whatever you want to talk about. I'm assuming that'll be college football or Texas football, but we'll get into as many questions and comments as we can. Rocky B says, good afternoon. Another wonderful day to not be an Aggie. You're damn right. I agree with that. Yeah. And what time is it? Yep, it's 3:23, and of course, OU still sucks. Yes, Specker, you got that right, no matter what time it is. Glad you guys are in the right state of mind. All right, let's start, though, with the player availability. CJ, you were there on the 40 acres, so on Texas football, well represented. What stood out to you? I got a couple of nuggets here and quotes that stood out to me, but you had a lot of different players available. What stood out to you?
Yeah, a couple big themes, of course. We got to talk with DJ Campbell. Trey Wisner was out there, Malik Muhammad, and Leon Lafau this morning. So a pretty solid array of guys from different sides of the football, different position groups as well. We got a good idea of what's going on in fall camp. But there were two general themes, and it's energy and hungriness at practice. We've heard that basically for the last 2 years. That's continued into fall camp. And the other one, look, I think there's some juice being brought by a DJ Campbell, by a Trey Wisner. You know, we got to hear from Malik Muhammad and how it's like in that secondary room. Rod, you talk about that swagger back in the day and how, you know, if you're a defensive back, you make a play, you let everybody know, right? That's just kind of the nature of a defensive back. He said a lot of that has returned in part because of Coach Akina, right? And that swagger that he carries into practice every single day. But hearing from Trey Wisner just sit up there and say, yeah, man, I'm talking smack to the defense because I know that they're going to talk smack to me when they make a good play, and it just drives that competitive nature. Right now, that's going on every single day. And this isn't anything new, right? We've heard about this from Colin Simmons and Anthony Hill and Arch Manning. So everybody right now, that competitive level is just rising day after day, practice after practice. And if you're a Texas fan, you have to love hearing that 2 or 3 days into padded practice for fall camp so far.
Yeah, I saw Trey Wisner said something he added to his game. He said something that, you know, he got better at is he said he changed his diet because he wanted to kind of transform his body a little bit more. And he said he started talking trash. And during the, like, actually answering the question, he started talking some trash to Leon Lafau, like actually during the they had like an exchange while he was answering the question. So they're having a lot of fun. This is a new, I mean, we haven't heard about this much. I mean, trash talk always happens, but we haven't heard it this. Oh, there you go. Matthew has it. Here's the actual audio and the video of Trey Wisner and the exchange.
For one, definitely eating right. I had to gain some 20 pounds, put some weight on. So definitely changing my eating habits, learn how to eat like a pro. And then another thing was really just talking smack to the defense player. I see you back there lying. Players like lying, but yeah, just really tapping into the defense because, like, at the end of the day, as much as we want to go out and beat on other teams, it starts within ourselves. So as much as they compete against me, I try to compete against them, and really just bring guys with me, bring the young guys with me, and just show them like, if you want things done, you got to bow your neck and get it done.
Very impressive.
Yeah. It seems like it's everybody's bought in, Coach, to bringing the juice to practice now. That's maybe you know, obviously Arch does it. Colin Simmons seems like that's now something. Even a guy like Trey Wisner, maybe that's not something that he, you know, initially was bought into. But he's like, no, I'm gonna add it because now I understand it ups the intensity at practice.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a good interview. And I wanted to ask CJ, what do you think about Malik Muhammad's media time?
Yeah, no, it was good to hear from him because we haven't heard from Malik Muhammad in quite a while. And again, I think everybody has high expectations for what he's going to bring to the field this year. It was interesting. He was asked, is this a contract year for you? And he kind of smiled and at first kind of dodged the question. And then ultimately said, I hope at the end of the year when I reflect back, it is, right? It's one of those things where I'm not looking at it in that sense. And he didn't say it right away, but you kind of read the body language saying, I'd like to be out of here in 3 years, and to do just that, he's got to approach it. And he has approached it in that right way. But the big thing for Malik that I remember hearing from him today is he's been on the jugs machine every day almost. And
nice.
I think that's a Mark Orfe thing to sit there and say, hey, you're a good corner. But good corners, that's just what they are. To be a game-changing cornerback, you got to take away the football. You got to make plays on the ball. And it's pretty surprising, as talented as he is, he's only had, one interception in his entire Texas career, despite being on the field very often through his first 2 seasons. So I think making plays on the football is going to be that next step in his game. And again, he's already a very solid cornerback. He's picked off Arch Manning already several times this fall camp as well. And that was another part of the interview that I thought was pretty interesting is, you hear about the smack talking going back and forth. He was asked if he's picked off Arch, and he kind of sat back and he smiled and goes, oh yeah. Yeah. And I just know that there's been that back and forth, but that competitive level again has been rising. But if Malik can add that to his game this year, that changes a lot about that Texas secondary who, with no Jahdae Barron, with no Andrew Mukuba, and with that pass rush that you're expecting this year, they're going to be errant throws and passing lanes in which you can probably take that extra risk and gamble on because it's likely not going to be that pinpoint accuracy due to the pressure that's going to be applied by that front seven. So that's where I'm really looking for Malik this year. Interceptions, takeaways, havoc plays from that secondary rod. It has to improve to get into that top 32, top 64 level draft pick as we, really expected for him coming out of high school.
Yeah, no, and he's a technician, all right? That's what he's got to get back to. And from what I saw, he looks like he's now more consistent. He said he's more confident now. And a lot of that, coach, playing cornerback, a lot of it is just confidence. All right. Whether you got to forget the last play, whether it was good or bad, but to have that kind of confidence in your technique, in your fundamentals, that even if you had a lapse, a bad play, that you can still come back and have that perfect rep the next rep. Like, that is not an indictment of you as a player. It was just usually we as a DB, we can blame it on something. All right. But he lost confidence, I think, last year. I think even more so than me criticizing the technique. I think it was clear at one point that he lost a little bit of confidence, and it came at the wrong times. I think it came late in the season when Texas played some of their best quarterbacks. He's playing like a confident player now. You can tell he had a swagger about him at that podium.
Rod, I want to ask you this. When you bring in your former DB coach and, having played for Dwayne and him well as a former player and as a friend, what difference can you see in our DBs maybe from last year to this year? You're talking about self-confidence. I can just talk to Coach and I'm freaking fired up because he that dude eats sunshine 3 meals a day. What do you think are some of the traits, some of the characteristics of the DBs we'll see this year as a direct result of Coach Aquina?
That is good. And some that we're already kind of seeing even before Aquina got here, but I think he'll end up reinforcing that. We talked the multiplicity, right? Got position flex. That's pretty. Even Malik Muhammad brought that up, right? CJ, he brought up how many guys are training at the nickel.
Yeah,
he brought up Tav, Wardell Mack, Grayson Littleton. Jelani and McDonald all cross training at nickel. He didn't even did he bring up Gilbo? I mean, I guess he's assumed Gilbo can play there too. But maybe that means something about Gilbo and his transition. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But that's one thing. He's always cross trained guys. Even when I played, it was Nathan Vasher and Quinn Jammer and Ahmad Brooks who played those different positions. Boom, there you go. CJ's on it, and so is my man Matthew. And another thing is disciplined eyes in the secondary. And they had that last year too. They were really disciplined with their eyes and their, we talk about, quarterbacks going through their progressions. Defenders have progressions too. It's just nobody cares about that. But I have keys that I'm supposed to, read, and depending on what happens with that first key, it should lead me to the second and then to the third. And if I have proper eye discipline, I should be able to work through my progressions as a defender and it take me to the right spot and where I'm supposed to be, right? Your feet go where your eyes go. You got to have disciplined eyes. That's something he's big on. And then I can't wait till they get the film study. And I think, CJ, you told me that they are all like working in one room now with the DBs. And that's so they have this hive-minded mentality. Everybody's on the same page, but your football IQ is going to go through the roof with Coach Akina. I mean, I was a starter before Coach Akina came, but I wasn't an NFL player. I think Coach Akina turned me into a guy that could play at the next level because of the football acumen, the football intellect that expanded. The stuff that I talked to you guys about, most of that is Coach Akina. It's not all Coach Akina, but it's about 70% of it is the way Coach Akina sees the game. It's kind of the way I see it.
It was interesting listening to Malik as well. He says he remembers walking into the DB room, Rod, and seeing the money wall and thinking, man, who coached all these guys? And that's where he first learned about Coach Akina, right? Because for a long part of that history of DBU, a lot of those guys came in that short stint in the early 2000s, right? A lot of, when you were there, when you look at who else is on that wall, right? A lot of Coach Akina fingerprints. And so he said, not only was he familiar with Coach Akina from his recruitment out of South Oak Cliff, but learning about the history of Texas and DBU, saying, okay, this is the guy that's returning to campus. I'm pretty excited. How can you not be? And he said, the number one thing that Coach Akina tries to instill in his defensive backs, whether it be safeties, whether it be nickels, whether it be corners, go watch those that have been before you, right? Whether it be at Texas, whether it be the guys on the wall, whether it be Hall of Famers or all pros in the league right now. Find something that they do very well and try to put that into your own game. And I think that's really interesting because it's one thing to just watch the tape and see how you might need to correct your own game, but watch the tape of somebody else that does it better and take pieces of their game and put it into yours. And who knows what might come of it.
I don't know how, Coach, but Coach Akina claims he's still showing teach tape that has all the old school DBs on there. I guess they transferred.
Yeah, baby.
I don't know, transferred it digitally some way. I don't know, but he claims like, I was showing film on you and Huff the other day, baby. It was fantastic. Show the T-staff. So he claims that's the case. But no, you're right. Coach Keenan's big on history. He does say, I remember I actually sat in when he had one of these sessions with us when we first got to Texas. He does a history lesson of the great DBs at DBU. Like he went through all the greats. That's, the Johnny Johnsons and Stanley the Sheriff and the Jerry Gray. He went through all of them and did kind of talk about why they were great. So he's a historian in that sense too. No doubt about it. You got to appreciate that about him. Okay, what else, CJ? Anything else that stood out to you about DJ Campbell? Also got a chance to speak, and he said, I think he said he left a lot on the plate. I don't know if he was talking about literally. I don't know if he meant he's a big guy, so I don't imagine he leaves a lot on any plate. But I think he was talking about in reference to last season as a player. Correct?
Yeah. Said Golden of the Statesman had a pretty funny comment about this. So you might be the only offensive lineman to ever leave food figuratively or literally on a plate before, and I thought that was pretty funny. It was witty. But no, I think DJ's right. To come in as a 5-star guy to be a 2-year starter a year ago, I don't think he lived up to what he expected. And I think at times he would tell you that himself. And now you're going into year 4. And this is your contract year, right? This is in which you head off to the NFL. What you put on tape is going to be your lasting impression to NFL scouts, personnel departments, GMs, whatever. whoever's making that big money decision at the next level, they're watching what you do this year if you're DJ Campbell. So he's saying, yeah, I think I could play significantly better this year than last. And if that's the case, look, we saw what he was able to do against Clemson. If you can get 16 games of just that,
yeah,
Texas is going to have themselves quite a right guard. And again, I think DJ's got it in him. It's all about piecing together that consistency and now pairing that together with Brandon Baker and that pass protection, because that was the big concern a year ago, is how will Cam Williams, how will DJ Campbell work together when you see twists and stunts and games up front?
Mm-hmm.
Well, now you got to do that with a brand new right tackle as well. But it sounds like those necessary steps are being taken by DJ to get the best out of him in 2025.
Yeah. I think he was talking about Ohio State get back game. Because,
Revenge tour circled.
Yeah. So I like the guys. It's on their mind. You see, it's on their mind. I know they're focused, but they understand. And now, especially with the polls coming out, that kind of stuff, that this probably is the most hyped preseason game. Some people are saying of all time, number 1 versus number 2. All right, we'll get to some more conversation. I see a super chat here. Let's get to that one. Rocky P, thank you very much for the super chat. Really appreciate it. Says something that has plagued the DBs for years at UT is looking for the ball while in coverage. What does Akina and company do to fix this problem and help a player like Malik upgrade to the next level? This is a great question. Thank you very much, Rocky P. And I won't get coach's thoughts about it as well. To me, what Coach Akina, and these are my terms, but this is kind of how I was taught with Coach Akina, is you got to have a panic plan. And that is based on your skill set as a DB. I always say Coach Akina never had a concrete plan. This is how you have to play the deep ball at all times, because you never know what position you're going to be in. Maybe I got duped on the double move and I'm out of phase. Maybe I'm playing the hands. Maybe I'm playing the eyes. Maybe, I'm facing the receiver. Maybe I'm in phase, but I can look and lean. I'm looking back. Maybe I'm playing through the upfield shoulder and I'm looking through the receiver to the football. Like, you just never know how you're going to end up playing it as a DB. And what Coach Akina did a great job of is giving you, I always say he would give you all the tools you need. And it was up to you in that specific situation or circumstance to figure out, I got to take this out of my tool belt. Now I need to flip my hips instead of over my hips. I gotta use this, instead of this technique, I should change it up and use this technique. He said that was up to you, but he would give you all the necessary tools you needed, because everybody's different, right? I can't play the ball like Nathan Basher. I wish I could. I wish I'd probably been more than a semifinalist for the Thor, but I'd have been a finalist, right? My man Nathan Bash is tied for the all-time leading interceptions at Texas, and he played the football like a guy who had a right to the football, who also had the skills to play the football. I do think a guy like Malik Muhammad has those skills. He said, as CJ mentioned, he's working on the jugs. So he wants to be able to play the football. I think he has the technique that will take him to the football, but I didn't trust my ball skills. And now a lot of y'all gonna make jokes out there, right? But I didn't trust my ball skills enough that when the ball was thrown deep, vertically downfield, for me to be able to make a play on the football. Nathan Basher, when the ball was thrown, he was a receiver. He basically would transform into the receiver at that moment. He didn't even give a damn about where the receiver was. He didn't need the receiver to take him to the ball. His skills did that. I would play the ball through the receiver. The receiver took me to the ball. So oftentimes you're like, man, Robbie, why he didn't pick that? I was like, well, I was in a good position on the receiver. I didn't want to misjudge a play, downfield, and then misjudge the ball and then the receiver get by. And that's really easy to do. You see it happens a lot, Rocky P, with our DBs, right? Because I think first you got to know your strengths and weaknesses as a defensive back. So I think Malik Muhammad can play the ball more. That's why he's on the jugs, because he's got the frame to do it and the length to do it. And he's got the technique to do it, because I think truly at his heart as a player, he's a technician. But now he wants to be able to, like I did. Listen, I was around the ball a lot. I'm top 5 all the time in PBUs. I just should have caught more of them than knocking them down. That's where he wants to be. You catch those, and see, you catch those, then you're a game changer. Then everybody's like, man, I'm drafting that dude in the first 2 rounds no matter what, because he's just got a knack for the football. That guy knows how to find the football. There are certain players like that, and that is given a lot of value, as well it should. So I think that's Malik Muhammad trying to transform his skill set to be a ball hawk. I don't know. I don't know if he's naturally. I think some guys out there are naturally ball hawks, and Sark is recruiting that. PK is recruiting that. They're recruiting ball hawks and coverage specialists in that secondary. And look at Jelani McDonald. He, you know, I mean, he's a freak out there and started to make a lot of plays on the football. I think Kobe Black's going to be a guy when he, you know, once he, you know, totally integrates himself in secondary, he's going to make a lot of plays on the football. They're recruiting guys who they have a knack for the football. You have to do that because I think that's natural. Coach, I don't know how you feel, but I think there are guys who play the ball and guys who kind of play the man, and I play the man.
I think that's a great tribute to Coach Akina and his years of experience and the wisdom that he has. And that really is because so many coaches, especially young coaches, they try to teach one way to defend the ball. And it's not a one size fits all. It's really not. And what you were good at was staying with the receiver, raking the ball out and all that stuff.
Yep.
But when you can have a guy that can have a good idea of judging where the ball is going to be, and if he can time it right, it's like Nathan. He doesn't need to know where the receiver is because he's been back there so many times. He's seen that arc, that angle of pursuit so many times. He knows where he's going to be able to high point the ball.
Yeah.
But the guys that really blow my mind are the guys that can run with you and they have their hand out and they can look back at the ball, but they can feel you at the same time and know exactly where you are.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, just like Nathan Vasher, that's my ball. You know, I love that attitude of a DB going up and say I got every right to my ball. If I can out jump you, if I can out high point you, if I can out position you, a basketball comes into play there. It's all about positioning. And some of that, obviously, you can teach. Some of it you can memory rep after 1,000 reps or whatever. But sometimes guys just have it. You know, they just I think it all comes from as a kid being able to high point the ball. You know, developing that skill set when you're young. Because how awesome is it that you're a football player and you have a game that people play named after you? Hey, let's go Moss. All right, man, let's go Moss. I don't want Moss you, you know. I mean, everybody knows what that means. You know, Nathan Vasher certainly knew. That was probably when Moss was playing. You know, I mean, he knew how to high point it. And when a guy has that, I think it has to come from a young age. I don't know that it's something that you naturally do. It's something that's learned at a young age. And then as your athleticism and your body grows, then you can go into beast mode real fast.
I was going to ask the both of y'all because I think it's interesting in terms of evaluating corners out of the high school level. You have two sets of corners, right? You got a Malik Muhammad who's been a corner his whole life, right? And that's where I think you side more on the technical side, right? Technique, you know, press, whatever. Then you get a guy that's very raw at the position, like a Kobe Black, and that's because he was asked to play quarterback, wide receiver. He played linebacker and safety at times. And so that developmental arc might be a little bit longer at the outside cornerback position. But when it comes to making those ultimate plays on the football, you know, I think there is a give and a take. You know, do you take the technical guy? Do you take the guy that might be a longer – I mean, it all depends on what your cornerback room looks like. But it's interesting seeing that. I think Trayvon Diggs, we've talked about him and his path as a wide receiver is a big reason why he's able to make so many plays on the football and create so many turnovers. I kind of prefer that, Rod, Coach. I don't know if y'all have any. Yeah. You know, it's just one of those things, turnovers, and especially ones in which you can turn into 6 points. I mean, it's a game changer like that. Yeah. No, that's a good point about because Nathan Vasher was an athlete coming out. He had played wide out, coach, and I think he's playing like some quarterback. Well, you know what I mean? Just playing, basically doing whatever they needed him to do at somewhere in Texarkana. And then he was obviously a defensive back at the college level. And to CJ's point, he had great ball skills. Like he was used to that. And to your point, it was early on that was programmed in him. So I think I kind of like those guys too. Kind of some freak athletes. Jelani McDonald, does he kind of fit that mode? Is he that kind of mode, CJ, where just an athlete that took some time to transition, but now maybe mastering DB a little bit? I might have talked about this before, but I look back at those Waco Connolly teams that had Trey Wisner at running back. You had Kobe Black as kind of your do-it-all offense, defensive piece, and then you had a young Jelani, you had Jelani doing both on all sides of the ball, and you had a young Kobe Black who – I mean, they're just throw them in the secondary. And I mean, there were times in which I know the level of competition they were facing normally didn't have the quality of quarterbacks and wide receivers to be, deep threats down the field. But I couldn't imagine having a Jelani McDonald and Kobe Black on either side of the ball.
Yeah.
Saying, okay, just lock down whatever receiver comes your way. You're basically playing 9 on whatever that 7 are, because you have whatever they can do to cover basically the rest of the backfield. So, but yeah, very much the same. Kobe and Jelani, they were both asked to do a lot at Connolly. And so that's why you're really starting to see the light come on last year for Jelani. And Matthew, I don't know if you're able to pull up the still clip of Jelani high pointing the football that's kind of gone around Texas Twitter today.
Yeah.
But Texas, the media department put out on the main Twitter just a couple tidbits and clips of everybody practicing today. And oh boy, there was one clip of Jelani high pointing the football.
Yeah.
That's pure athleticism here.
It is. Yep. I mean, he had that. Look at, I don't even know what the vert is on that. It looks pretty damn good.
Hey.
It looks legit.
That's a 6'2", 6'3".
Is that not hoop skills? Is that not hoop skills? Really?
It could be. He was a hooper. It was funny. I actually stopped by Connolly, I guess their junior year, the winter of their junior year. I stopped by Connolly at the time, and I was there to see Trey Wisner, and I wanted to see what was going on. They were hooping. They were beating the hell out of somebody, like really bad. And again, remember, their basketball teams were Trey Wisner. There was another kid that ended up over at Sam Houston. Jelani was playing, and they just pummeled teams with their speed, just going back and forth, back and forth. And I talked to Jelani very briefly afterward, because Texas wasn't really after him his in the winter of his junior year. And I asked him, I was like, hey man, like, what are you thinking right now? He goes, oh, I'm committing to Tech soon. I'm like, no, like, about your game. He goes, oh, they want me to play quarterback. I'm like, really? And so there were teams that recruited him as a quarterback athlete just to get him on campus. And you see him play basketball, and he's just jumping through the gym. He wasn't dunking, but he was grabbing rebounds above the rim. And you're sitting there thinking, okay, I see the intrigue as a quarterback, but I want to see him backpedal, play the football in the air. I want to see him run the alley. And Texas, obviously, coming in and winning that recruitment with a late flip over Oklahoma State. What an evaluation by the Texas staff, first and foremost, but quite the athlete, and he's turned into quite the player for the Longhorns as well.
I would say what good evaluation about Oklahoma State too, because
they always do that though. They've done that for years, stealing players.
Right, Coach? Because didn't they have Kelvin Banks initially too?
Yes, they did.
It is like, you can't hold on to him though, because you're Oklahoma State. But to that point, and I don't know, Matthew, if you can pull this up, because I sent it to you via text. There you go. Boom. Cedric Griffin, member of card carrying member of DBU like myself. He saw that picture going viral, CJ and Coach, and he put this up there and said, recruit the best track and field athlete to also play football. Texas Longhorn Jelani McDonald was an amazing 48-foot triple jumper and a 6'6" high jumper in high school. To your point, CJ, you were talking about him jumping to above the rim to get rebounds. The dude's got some ups. Ain't no doubt about that. But that is something that Sark does. No, Sark is big on recruiting. I don't know if it's the best track and field athletes, but he wants to see what they do in track and field, Coach. Like, that's something that he's made a serious and important data point in his evaluations.
Yeah, I really think that's awesome, and I've always been a big proponent of that. But I know I keep talking about it, but I just think it's so true. You don't see ball hawks like that as a receiver or a DB, really, that weren't into the game of basketball. I'm just telling you, it just you just see it so much in basketball. Whether it's an alley-oop or whether it's trying to get the ball inside, it's body position and it's high pointing. And show me a guy with great ball skills, and I'll show you a guy that's probably at least good pickup basketball player. Even if maybe he didn't play on the team, he's going to be a hooper in my mind.
To your point, Coach, I was terrible at basketball. I could play great defense and rebounding. That was my thing. I was a great junkyard dog out there. But in terms of shooting and the skill aspect of the game, no. People thought I could hoop, but I couldn't. So you definitely own to something. It did not translate for me. The hand is a hand-eye coordination thing.
Yeah.
I had different type of athleticism. All right, let's get thank you for that super chat. Before we get back to some of your questions and some other thoughts. Hey, thank you, CB. Nobody put the ball on my side of the field. Not even me, damn it. Mac didn't like that quote, but it was true. It was true. All right, let's thank our friends over at Flat Creek Estate Winery before we move on. Did you know that one of the most awarded wines in Texas is actually a vineyard very close to Austin, folks? That's right, our friends over at Flat Creek Estate Winery. You've heard me bragging about their Super Texan. The Super Texan is fantastic. They entered it into the San Francisco Wine Festival earlier this year. It scored a 98 out of 100 and was named the top red blend in the country. So congratulations to our friends over at Flat Creek Estate Winery. You can find their award-winning Super Texan at your local HEB, at your local Specs. Of course, I saw it displayed at our local Central Market. So the word is getting out about the great wines over there at Flat Creek. Not only the Super Texan, but they have great Pinot Grigio. The Rosé is really refreshing too. You can also find their great wines at their fantastic venue. They have a venue, folks, where they have barbecues and wine tastings every single weekend. It's perfect for a day date with your significant other or a weekend getaway with your significant other. That's Flat Creek Estate Winery, flatcreekestate.com. And thank you very much to our friends over at Flat Creek Estate Winery for sponsoring the winning drive. All right. Well, real quick, before we get back to the questions, guys, we finally had, I don't know if we needed this confirmation, but we have even, I think, more confirmation. And maybe now we can end this conversation once and for all. That Archie Manning, the patriarch coach of the royal family of football, he told Texas Monthly in an interview they did, I believe they spoke to the Manning family, just talking about Arch. And he told them in regards to whether Arch Manning possibly was going to enter this 2026 draft coming up. I believe the quote from him was, that he said Arch isn't going to do that. He'll be at Texas. In regards to the question about him entering the next upcoming NFL draft in 2026. So he will be at Texas for 2 years. I don't know if we need it. He said this before. It was more of in the casual setting, unofficial. But I believe now, guys, they're trying to just put these rumors, reports to rest once and for all about teams tanking for Arch or the Browns want, whatever it is, right? Whatever story is coming out about some NFL team that wants Arch, the mock drafts, whatever they may be, that you guys can just cool your jets. It ain't happening. He's going to be at Texas for 2 years. Even if he does have the greatest season or meets all the expectations, win the Heisman, win the national title, still, I guess he's coming back for 2026.
That's right. I'm probably the only guy. I think it's probably safe to say I would venture to say I'm the only guy on the OTF staff that remembers watching Archie Manning play football.
Archie,
you don't think?
As a matter of fact, his last year in the NFL was my senior year in college.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So he wound up. Of course, he played most of his years. With the Saints, but he wound up playing with the Vikings. He was with the Oilers 1 year, then his last year with the Vikings.
14 years he played, right? Something like that?
Yeah, 83, 84. Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah, you're right, because I don't recall that. I just hear about Archie. I do not recall. I heard the stories.
Yeah. He was a great quarterback.
This is the topic. The hat throw has made its run, right? I don't think I'm ever going to do it again. But I'm thinking around January or February of next year when folks chime in on live streams, saying, hey, when's Arch declaring? I think that's the next time, if I ever do it again, that this thing might go through that window to my left, because we've said this for about a year and a half, right? We've been on this train here at OTF saying, no, 2 years, right? But this conversation is always going to be there, especially if he goes out there and he has a heck of a year, as we're all expecting right now. And to that point, it's hard not to envision what that conversation might be if Arch goes out there and exceeds expectations and Texas has the year that they're envisioning. So I get it. But this conversation, again, it's the same one that we've had for months. We're expecting 2 years out of Arch Manning. We're expecting that same path that's been followed by every Manning beforehand. So Hey, I know that we're getting it from a guy with a Manning last name here, and maybe some folks will finally start to listen. But I'm hoping that, Rod, you said cool your jets. I'm hoping we can hold our horses. Right?
Old school references, old school sayings. Cool your jets, hold your horses. Yeah. Coach watching Archer. That's great.
That is good.
Yeah, there I am. Got my homemade Dr. Pepper.
Yeah, I was going to say, what are you sipping on there, Coach?
Yep.
RC
homemade
Cola?
Dr. Pepper. Put the syrup in, pump the syrup in, then get the soda water, put it on top, stir it up, put a cherry in it. Put peanuts in it.
My dad used to do that. Put like peanuts in his Coke. This is a weird thing. Yeah, they just like put them inside and I guess they drink the Coke and then eat the peanuts after they drink I have no idea. My dad it's a country boy thing. My dad's a country boy. That's a country thing, I believe. Oh. But yeah, no, it's something, CJ, like you said, that I think everybody who's closer to the program has known. I think nationally it's not something nationally that people know. So they'll have to keep reinforcing it. And I think this may be the last time they need to hear it, because this is now making the rounds. It's going, and they wanted to make the rounds, that he's going to be in college for 2 years. And even if the only way they will consider him leaving is if he has the Heisman / national title year combo. And by the way, if he does that, I'm all for you leaving. You can go ahead and go. Go ahead. Yeah. Okay. If you do that for Texas, I'm fine with him leaving, because I don't know if your stock will ever be higher, than that. But I get it. And if that happens, it's a first world problem that Texas will have. All right, so there you go. That's Arch. The latest conversation about Arch is that he is staying 2 years. I did see this article, though. Speaking of Arch, there was an article on ESPN about the top 40 most important players in college football. Anybody want to guess who the number one player is, the most important player in college football? It was Arch Manning. Go look at ESPN's like college football page. Like, you just go to the ESPN and then go to the college football tab. It's all pictures and thumbnails of Arch Manning with their articles.
It makes sense.
It is.
It's like clicking.
It's like SEC preview. And it's like Arch Manning up there. And it's like top 40 most important players is Arch Manning on there. And it's like
they might be giving him an NIL deal, Rod. Just stay in school because we're getting clicks right now.
Yeah, I'm serious. They're like top rate. I mean, it's crazy. They're like top rate. It's all like Arch Manning thumbnails. So the hype train is full on. I was listening to a lot of national radio programs. Everybody hit the Archie Manning quote at least one time. So it's getting around. And he may be the most important player in college football. I mean, I haven't looked at the latest odds to win the Heisman or to win to be the number one overall pick. But last time I looked, he was the best, had the best odds to win the Heisman too. So we shall see. It's the most hype ever for any player, don't you think, CJ? Ever?
Yeah. Again, the last name carries a lot of weight. Arch Jones, hey, we'll have that conversation plenty of times more. But I did throw on Arch to win the Heisman the other day. So,
boom!
I've got 4 right now. Four tickets out there. Well, Norris Sellers, if South Carolina can somehow go on a crazy run, look, he's awesome. He's a very fun quarterback to watch. Jeremiah Love, there it is, my little whiteboard that I keep in my living room. Jeremiah Love, and I'm running back the Indiana hype. I am. Fernando Mendoza coming over from Cal. They like to score a lot of points. And look, if they make the playoff again, who's to say what might happen in Bloomington? Yeah.
Abel 318 says, as Arch Manning in the title of this video. You're damn right, because we're not stupid. we want the Arch Manning bump too, as everybody does. Everybody wants the Arch bump, baby. The Arch bump is coming, and it's real. All right, let's get to something else, guys. I don't know if you got a chance to watch the latest Stampede from Mac Brown and VY, their podcast. They're doing a good job. They had Sark on most recently. And he had some interesting things to say about, about where the program is now, kind of the evolution of the program and some of the other tidbits. They were asking him, here are my top kind of highlights that stood out to me. They were asking him about the Ohio State game. And he admitted, that trying to game plan against a a coordinator, a play caller who has no college experience and coach, but all NFL experience. He said they have to go back and watch all those old you're just looking at for Matt Patricia. He said they got to go back and watch Detroit Lions stuff and New England Patriots stuff to try to get some idea of how he may attack them. But all but admitted that it's still going to be them adjusting on the fly. They have no idea. Basically, he admitted that they pretty much have no idea really how they're going to attack them. They will do their due diligence, and they will have they will do their best at a guessing, an advanced, I think, guess, if you will, educated guess. But they really don't know exactly how Matt Patricia is going to handle it. So just like they did, he brought up the Wink Martindale example from Michigan, because also very similarly, he had no college, or at least recently, no college play calling experience and was coming from the NFL. And he said they did the same thing with him. They watched the Giants film. They went back to his time with the Ravens and just tried to get a general idea of what he likes to do and his tendencies as a play caller, and then build a game plan that way. So, Coach, is that the in-depth as it goes when you really don't have the sample size to study of a coordinator or a coach you're going up against?
Well, yes. But I also think that Sark's NFL experience and the connections he has in the NFL, you get on the phone with those guys, and there's a lot of people that know what that DC hangs his hat on. Yeah. They know what his basic general philosophy is, but really when you're Texas, it's nice to have game film, to look at a previous game, but when you don't really have that, but I think to a certain extent, Texas is going to see stuff every week to try to stop this offense that they're going to have to make adjustments on the fly, which I think they're very capable of doing. The Arch Manning and the dual threat effect is going to be a huge feather in our cap when it comes to people trying to defend us, especially right off the first rattle out of the box. Not only do you not have a couple of years of college experience in the last 2 years to watch on him, you still have the advantage, or it negates the advantage that Ohio State may have with an unknown DC in college football. With what you're going to throw at them, you're going to throw some stuff at him that he probably is not real used to in terms of a dual threat quarterback. And I know we don't want to run Arch a lot against Ohio State, who would, but just that element there is going to be something that he may not be real in tune with.
Yeah. No, I agree. I always say it's the best cheat code in football right now is the scramble, right? The quarterback's ability to run, to improvise off schedule once the play breaks down, to make a play caller right, even when they were wrong. And you have that ability right now with Arch. He also admitted, CJ, because Mac and him kind of went back and forth on this topic a little bit. And Mac was like, you might have to end up changing your entire game plan in the first quarter. And Sark was like, yeah, maybe. that's on the table, because you really don't know how it's going to play out. You have to be ready to adjust immediately. I think just them going in with that understanding, to Coach's point, is going to give them, even if Ohio State, I think they do have a slight advantage with the unknown quantity, right, of the play caller of Matt Patricia and what he's going to call. It won't last that long. I don't think it'll last that long.
No, and I tend to wonder, we talk about Sark's pregame script and how lengthy those can be at times. How many different, you're going to have your playbook, right? But how many different avenues are you going to have that you can branch off to be what you focus on, right? If I'm driving to school, if I was in high school driving to school, I could go through the country roads. I can go through the interstate. I can go through the place where the donut shop is, right? There's all different roads that lead to where I want to go, and that's my end destination. For Sark, that end destination is scoring a lot of points. Does that mean Arch Manning runs the ball a whole lot? Does that mean that after your first series, you're really relying on that ground game? Or, hey, maybe that secondary isn't what you expect, and you just air it out the entire time. So there's a lot of different avenues, and depending on what those first 2-3 series look like early on, that's where the adjustments have to come in. The one thing that I know is, at the end of the day, you want to get to school, right? And if you're Steve Sarkisian, you want to score a lot of points. So whichever way gets there the most efficient, and without a whole lot of detours, right? To keep that analogy, it's going to be really interesting to what is a complete unknown, because going into that game, very much like this analogy here, you don't know if there's traffic. You don't know if there's a road closure. You don't know if there's a car wreck anywhere else. And that's where the unknown of the Ohio State, brand new scheme and stuff like that comes into play as well.
See, now you got people in the chat talking about donuts too, just because your analogy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. A lot of offenses, and I don't know what Sark's philosophy is, but I know when I was in college ball, sometimes you'll have routes on one side of the field, they're going to be good against certain coverages, and the routes on the other side of the field would be good against another. So it depends on if you see man. Then you also have the route adjustments. If it's man, the route breaks off from this to this. If it's zone, it breaks off from this to this, which of course the air raid is real big at doing that. They run, 9 concepts, but they run there's a jillion different things, and it looks like 90 different plays or more, so there's a lot of offensive philosophy. I would hate to be a defensive coordinator trying to stop offenses now, but at the same time, there are so many bastard coverages nowadays that, and then you throw the blitz on top of that, and it could take a little while for us to kind of find our footing.
Coach, to that point, he was also, and shout out to Bob Ballou. I don't think I mentioned him. He does a good job as well, kind of the mediator for Mac and Vince's podcast.
Absolutely.
He talked about, I thought it was really interesting, guys, kind of the evolution of his philosophy as he has added coaches to the staff and how that's changed a lot of what they do. He talked about how, that when they brought in, Brennan Marion and Chris Jackson, how they offensively, their passing game it adapted a little bit to some of their ideas. And he also admitted that when Johnny Nansen came in, he said when we lost Choate and we brought in Johnny Nansen, that we shifted from split safeties, which we've talked about here, right? 2 high safeties, to being more single high safeties, which we also talked about here and said they ran more single high this year than they have since PK's been here. And our, at least hypothesis was that was a kind of a Nansen influence. So some of these things that we knew that, Brennan Marion has had an influence on the offense, and he admitted to Short Choice had an influence on the running game. He admitted that, Johnny Nansen has had an influence on PK. We knew the Gary Patterson had an influence on him in the coverages as well. But I just think like I said, we know this from observing and watching, and we theorized it and hypothesized it. But it's nice to hear Sark actually just go on the record and admit, like, no, we bring in a new coach. You got some good ideas? Okay, that's good. It's a better idea than what we're doing. Let's do it. And I think that's one of the secret ingredients, Coach, to this successful formula that Sark has concocted, is that he is admitting that he said it about Chad Scott coming in too. He said, we're going to introduce some new ideas with Chad Scott coming in. They seem to be able to evolve as they bring in these new coaches because they're willing to listen to their new ideas. And I think we see it because we talk about it, but he's admitting, no, it's intentional. It's deliberate.
Yeah, I think you look at that and you see the wisdom of a head coach who knows to swallow his pride and to listen and to always be learning. And was that not the death sentence of Jimbo Fisher? He could not, he did what he did, and people caught up to it, and he wasn't going to change. He was not going to change what he was doing. And that was the beginning of the end for him, when he did not incorporate his offense like Sark is doing with other influences. What can we do that fits into our scheme? That's one thing that, somebody may have a good idea, but it doesn't really fit at all with our package, what we have. Maybe throw a specialty play in here or there, but people say, drop, hey, coach, run this play. Well, that looks good, but how does it fit into what we do? Everything, every play action, every run, there's a spin-off of it. It all a puzzle that all has to fit together.
Yeah. And he also, to that point, Coach, admitted like how they've, they've evolved on defense and offense. He said we had BJ and Rojo. We were a ground and pound team. That's our focus. He said, and basically admitted last year, he brought up that, with our running backs having a lot of injuries, we were more spread concepts, empty formations, getting the running backs on vertical routes, Jaden Blue, that kind of thing. And that was more out of circumstance But he talked about how the defense, he did admit us also, they're going to more man-free. He said that's kind of what their identity in coverage is now, when they started as a quarters team and now he said man-free. And I think he threw out there they're also having some cover 2 that they throw in there as well. So he's being very kind of upfront and forthcoming about admitting some of the key ingredients and maybe secret ingredients of what has made them so successful. And I just think he's just doing it he's more comfortable now, period, with what works. And I think he's willing to kind of admit, like, no, this is how the sausage is made. This is what we're doing behind the scenes. So like I said, I like Coach Sark in interviews. And like I said, I loved Mac too. But Sark gives you a lot of meat in interviews, man. He gives you a lot of good stuff. He gives you great stuff in interviews. Like real meat. Like stuff that I honestly think he shouldn't be giving us. I should have been like, Coach, why are you telling people that? Don't be telling people you're playing man free and lots of cover 2 now. Maybe it's the okie doke and he's gonna switch it up on him. Like he's admitting a lot of stuff, but like I said, I for us in the media, I think he's now more comfortable with members of the media, period, and just he's giving us, like authenticity, and that's why I think that's why everybody loves Sark. He's authentic. Another part of the interview that I really liked, he also said that they're getting more and more accustomed to teams, coach, giving them their most exotic tendency breakers week to week. He said they basically have come to expect it now. We're used to surprise them. And remember that year, was that 2023? He kept being surprised by that because he was like, they came in with a different look than what we had seen on film. And they were like, Coach, you better get used to that. And now he's saying that, yeah, we do. They get it. Everybody has circled that game, Coach, and everybody has circled those exotic looks and packages. We're going to break it out against Texas. Or that player that ain't played, we're going to make his timeline line up where he going to play against Texas like Georgia did. Like, I think he's now accustomed to that. And I think it's good. He knows that the target is on you, Coach.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Well, he is like I said, that's the one thing that one adjective that you use to describe him is, it's so true. And that he is authentic. He doesn't give you the coach talk, He doesn't give you the coach speak that you hear from so many other coaches when they're being interviewed. And it's so refreshing, to hear. Now, I promise you, and you know this, Rod, he ain't giving out all the secrets.
I know he's not. I know.
No, like you said, he's got a lot up his sleeve, I promise you. But at least he's giving you something, instead of just, yeah, we know what he's going to say. Speech number 14 coming up. We've already heard it times, Coach.
Yep, you're right. Because Texas is going to be they already are one of the most covered programs in terms of the great entities, on Texas football being one of them, but there are a lot of that cover Texas football. But this year, because of the arch factor and because Texas is going to be really good, since Sark has the Saban mentality, I can tell you, but can you stop it? Yeah, that's true. Execute, right? You may know what we're going to do, but it's all about execution. But I think also, and John Bianco's great at his job too. Shout out to John Bianco, who's the sports information director. It's like Texas is going to be the most covered program in the country nationally, locally, regionally, doesn't matter, and will probably be the most watched football team this year too, with probably upwards of maybe 10 million viewers on average per game. If they're covering you, you got to give them some good nuggets. You got to give them something to write about. You got to give them some splash headlines. And I think Sark is really good. Like you said, Coach, he ain't giving you the stuff that they actually need to win. He's giving us old secrets. He's giving us stuff that helped them win last year and the year before that. He ain't giving us the secret sauce about what's going to be the key ingredient, in 2025. But it's good to get that old stuff. Some coaches don't give you nothing. Like, yeah, you ain't getting Belichick ain't giving you nothing. Like, you ain't getting nothing ever. All right. Find it out, figure it out yourself. All right. Let's get to one more thing. He also all but admitted the circle of trust is going to be kind of 4 guys. Right? He all but admitted it. He didn't outright say it, CJ, but he basically said it. He said, I think he started by saying basically Ryan Wingo last year would have been a starter as a true freshman, like some of like Jeremiah Smith or like a Ryan Williams, if not for Matthew Golden and like Isaiah Bond. And then he basically said, Wingo's our guy, DeAndre Moore, is our guy. He talks about Parker Livingstone having a great spring and how much they like Emmett Mosley. He keeps reinforcing how much they like Emmett Mosley, so they really like him. But that then he basically, I don't know how he said it, but he basically almost said that now the second group here, another tier here of guys, and they're working to get better, and we're gonna need them to contribute too. So I don't know if people heard that, but the circle of trust, guys, is faux.
Hey, did you happen to hear the little tidbit that got out about? I think Bobby was talking about it on Coffee and Football one morning, that he went to the National Recruiting Symposium or whatever it was in Nashville, and there was a company there that has some type of software or something that Texas actually uses. So it's like a game decision type. I have no idea what it is. I was wondering if y'all knew anything about that, or if you had any inside scoop on that. And it might be something as simple as you can just plug in, your timeouts, how much time's left to give you,
Oh my goodness. I hope whoever made that coach is making
the green folder. Instead of the green folder, you're talking about it's like an algorithm.
Yes. I kind of thought that's, some of the press box had, they go, hey, coach, this is what the app says.
I love that.
We got 28 seconds left. We got one timeout. We're so many yards away. You plug it in, man. That's what I'm thinking it might be, but I don't know.
That's beautiful. Right. We talked about it. One of my biggest pet peeves in college football is gunners. I think they're the dumbest people to play football. I know they're not, but they make the dumbest decisions that alter games. It infuriates me. But the second dumbest person on a college football field is the coach when they need to make a timeout in a timely fashion.
Yeah.
For years, it was Mike McCarthy and the Cowboys. I'm sitting there every Sunday saying, what in the world is going on with these time managements? And then it trickles down into what was it? Was it Miami a few years ago, Matthew?
Yeah, it was.
When all they needed to do was just kneel the ball out, and they wanted to get a running back over 100 yards or 1,000 yards or something like that. And you fumble, you lose the game as a result, and you're sitting there and you're like, dude, like the clock is your friend here. And so there's that internet saying, it's like any respected Madden player would have called a timeout in X, Y, or Z situation that a coach did not. And it's crazy that I'm glad that's now becoming more of a priority, because it's cost too many teams too many wins and lost me years of my life sitting there on my couch screaming, what the hell is going on right now?
Are we going to give it to AI? It's not some AI device, is it? Is it some AI algorithm or something? I think Sark, I've heard him talk about these decisions, and he says, Coach, they do have, I'm sure now maybe it is something advanced like that system. But I think somebody kind of referred to like the green binder with him. Do you have like something that you refer to situationally? Okay, if these are the parameters, if they meet this is what we do all the time because of that. He says they do, but he oftentimes will also use his gut. So he refers to whatever the algorithm, whatever it may be that they have, what should we do situationally? But then he says he also considers, hey, I got to go my feel of the game here. Like what am I feeling here about this game? Do I feel like, that kind of thing? And I appreciate that. I like that he considers both. Some coaches are like, nope, my gut is all that matters. I don't give a damn about the analytics. I don't want to see it. And I was like, well, you should at least look at the analytics. And some coaches are like, no, analytics, they will tell me everything that I need to do. I don't even want to consider my gut. And I'm like, well, I want you to consider the feel of the game too. I want both. And Sark does. He has admitted that he looks at both. The feel of the game is considered, and also whatever analytically says that they should do at the time. So both are good. People get on Tom Herman about his green binder all the time. Was it actually a green, coach? Was it actually a green folder binder? What was it?
I don't know. If it was in the press box because I was on the sideline.
I don't even know I don't even remember what they were.
I mean, hey, after me tweeting out about the Lockets, probably, hey, don't let Shipley see that book. Don't even tell him what color it is. That's an inside joke we were talking about before the show started, guys.
I don't know if you would to admit you referenced it, Coach. You opened.
The door. I'm not. It is what it is. I was smart enough to take it down after about 1 million retweets.
The players were introduced to their new locker room early this week, and Texas football posted that on social media. They were thrilled. I mean, who would? It was like a kid on Christmas. It looks amazing, actually. I can't imagine there's a better locker room in the country. But Coach, This happened before during Tom Herman's tenure. They also, Coach, introduced a new locker room, right? And I'll let Coach finish the story.
Yeah, it's back before, right before when we got the whole locker room redone and everything, and we were still on the north end zone. They were still redoing, the Moncrief, but they came out with the new lockers, and I just happened to be going through it. Go, hey man, these are really cool. So I took a picture of it and tweeted it. Love these new lockers. And before our social media team had a chance to take a picture and send it out, and I had I guess I eventually took it down. We were looking for it before the show started, but anyway, it had a zillion retweets and likes, and they're like, oh, okay, I guess Ship, okay, didn't know you're on staff here in the social media department.
breaking news stories, breaking news.
Yeah. So I got a bunch of followers like, hey, this idiot will tell us anything, man. Let's follow this guy.
Oh, that's great. Oh man, that's fantastic.
Yeah, but the new lockers, man, they recline. I mean, they got recliners in them. It's unbelievable.
Yeah,
there's screens in them too, right? There's screens in them and all that kind of stuff.
No, you can hook up a PlayStation.
It's just
yeah.
That's amazing.
The old ones, the old lockers had a thing where you put your helmet, had a built-in fan that would air out your helmet so it wouldn't get all musty. You know how you used to get sweaty?
Wow. That is
thanks, Matthew. Yeah,
they had a fan that would air out your helmet.
Yeah, fan. They had a dome up there with a built-in fan, and it would air out the helmets. And the whole locker had a ventilated system to air everything out every time.
Yeah, because lockers stink. I agree,
so your pads, they absorb all that sweat. Now, that chair he's in, you'll see here in a second, it actually reclines. If y'all haven't seen that yet, it's pretty crazy.
Man.
Yeah, look at that.
Rod, that looks like after these summer conditioning fall camp workouts, that's where I'm done. I'll come back in about an hour. Just lounge.
Yeah, now you can take a nap at your locker, Coach. What you saying?
Yeah.
2 days. You know what?
It's nice to get off your feet a little bit.
Wow. No, it's never been a better time to be a student athlete, especially a college football player. It's the greatest age in the history of college football for the players. Yep. No doubt about it. All right. Thank you for that, Matthew. We appreciate that. Let's thank another sponsor. Thank our friends over at Von Lane. And then we'll come back and answer some of your questions here. When you need to travel between major cities, we know it's a bit of a hassle, right? Do you deal with the airport chaos and the stress of dealing with any airport experience, right? Hoping your flight isn't delayed? Or do you brace yourself for hours behind the wheel, battling traffic and burning an entire day of productivity, dealing with road rage as well? Well, there's a third option, and it's a much better option. It is Von Lane. You arrive at a luxury hotel terminal. No TSA lines, no long-term parking lots, just a seamless boarding experience that takes minutes, not hours. You settle into one of just 22 oversized plush first class seats with 140-degree recline. In fact, you were talking about those seats in the Texas locker rooms. Well, our friends at Von Lane, they have seats just as comfortable, and they recline, leg rest, and a cabin attendant serving complimentary snacks, beverages, and on select trips a full meal if you'd like. And if you need to relax, well, you can just lean back and enjoy the ride. But if you want to stay productive, there's high-speed Wi-Fi and power at every seat. Fall travel is booking fast, so reserve your spot now for October trips to Texas versus OU in Dallas, or F1 and ACL in Austin, or college football weekends in Nashville, Tennessee, or Dallas, Fort Worth, and Houston as well. Von Lane connects Austin, Dallas, Houston, Fort Worth, San Antonio, Nashville, Atlanta, Memphis, and now Knoxville as well. The Woodlands and Plano. They keep adding more and more cities to this list. So visit vonlane.com, VONLANE.com, and use the code OTF25, and you'll save $20 off your first ride with Von Lane. That's Von Lane Elevated Regional Bus Transportation. Thank you very much to our friends at Von Lane. I think the crew might be taking some Von Lane trips we're actually going to do a Texas tour, if you will, with our friends over at Third and Longhorn. Come on. It's going to be fun. And we're going to stops in Houston and in Dallas and in Austin. I'll give you some details about that here coming up at the end of the show. But thinking about taking that Von Lane to them trips. Do it in style. All right. Let's get to some of the questions here. Thank you guys for your patience. How about this one from Shivam says, how has Ty Anthony Smith looked in camp so far? Seems like he can play more this year.
Yeah, certainly agree. Look, that's a crowded room of linebackers right there when it comes to getting on the field. The one thing I thought that was really interesting that we heard from Leon Lafau today was, all these pass rushers, that's great, but we need somebody to stay home, right? We need somebody to play that pass coverage, middle of the field, and take care of that area in which you're not blitzing, right? Mm-hmm. He said it's going to come down to me, and it's going to come down to Ty Anthony Smith, because look, Anthony Hill, for as talented as he is, you're going to use him in every single other facet of the game. Trey Moore with his ability to blitz as well. They're gonna go. Now it's up to Leonga, it's up to Ty Smith to be guys that really push the envelope in that pass coverage sense. And the other thing he said is, look, Ty Anthony Smith pushes me every single day. And that's something that I think is underrated. Again, it goes back to that competition level. But I think he's going to play a big role this year, much larger than what we saw a year ago, in which only about 100 snaps on the defensive side of the ball. He made his presence felt pretty often.
Yeah, they're so versatile at linebacker. Think about it, Coach. You have Anthony Hill who can play off ball and on the edge. Ty Anthony Smith, I think it's great in coverage. I know he's packed on some weight, but I love the way he looks in space. I think he's really comfortable in space. So I think he'd be great in some of your sub packages where teams are throwing the football. You got Leon Lafau, who's probably, one of your best kind of downhill linebackers in that system. So you can kind of stabilize things where you have all these guys that you can move around. Brad Spencer's now moving permanently to the edge. But that's a guy that, I think that's because you're so deep at linebacker now with all the kind of versatile pieces. So I just think linebacker is definitely a strength. Trey Moore's cross-training there at linebacker too. So it's just a lot of versatility. I can't wait to see how they use it. The linebacker and the edge position, I can't wait to see the rotations. Like, what are they going to do, Coach? Like,
yeah,
what are the
rotations? It's going to be so hard to defend offensively because you've got, like you say, the versatility. Just because the guys on the field, used to, you'd know exactly what personnel they got. Nickel personnel, they got run stop personnel, dime package, whatever. And now you don't know, and so you just have to kind of roll the dice with your personnel. Not knowing who they're going to bring and where they're going to bring them from.
Yep. Coach, this was for you. I think I already know how you're going to answer it. Marco wants to know, if Texas wins the toss, do they take the ball or do they defer? Are we
every time? Take it every time. Why? Put some heat on them, man. Let's go.
Yeah.
They took the ball against Michigan.
Coach, I remember Coach said that too. Coach was like, take the ball against Michigan. Set the tone.
Let's establish the pace of the game right now. Mm-hmm. Right now. Let's make them play from behind right now.
Considering
how many opening drives did we score on last year? It was a lot. I think. I don't remember the breakdown, but for a while there, maybe it was a year before. I can't remember. But
I know
there was a streak there where we scored, like, I don't know. I can't remember what it was. I don't even want to say, but it was pretty good percentage.
You know why you should take the ball now, though? Because last year, you had you had subpar punting. This year, even if you do have to punt, you should have a beast in Bo Meester of a punter that should help you at least still be able to pin them deep enough where your defense can have the advantage when they start out on the field. So I agree with Coach. Considering how Sark starts games, he should take the ball. His starts, they're great. Like, his first few plays and script is one of the best in college football. If I'm Sark, I would take the ball. I think Mac used to always kick it. Mac was always about putting the defense out first. But Sark should take the ball.
I don't have last year's numbers.
Is that not what all gas, no breaks is?
That's right, Coach.
That's dope.
I don't have last year's numbers, but I was looking at the 2023. I charted them for whatever reason. 4 touchdowns out of, about 15 games. So the opening drive wasn't great. They had a pair of turnover on downs, a lot of punts and an interception. But the thing that I really enjoyed seeing out of this was about 65% of those snaps had included some sort of motion, right? Mm-hmm. So that's more so, putting points on the board. It should be the ultimate goal of a drive, but understanding what kind of adjustments and and changes the defense is making certain formations and shifts is a lot of times what these first drives are meant to tell you.
He admitted that. He admitted that too, didn't he?
Don't you think, Rod, that that's something that defensively you're not going to have a ton of adjustments to a certain motion? You're pretty much going to have a standard. This is how we're going to adjust to this formation. This is how we're going to adjust to this motion. And it's not like, okay, last time we adjusted this way. This time we got to adjust this way. I mean, it's pretty much going to be, and that's why that's why I think he gives people so many looks, and they're charting every single people in the press box and on the sidelines are charting like crazy to try to get a beat on their adjustments.
Yeah, to your point, Coach, and CJ, what you mentioned to piggyback on it, he admitted essentially in our third Longhorn interview that a lot of his early play calling is just troubleshooting, trying to figure out, like you said, Coach, how they adjust to motion. Is it so when they're in cover 3, they adjust to it this way. When they're in cover, when they're man, they're gonna bump it or are they gonna run with it? And all these different things. And so he kind of admitted that they're kind of feeling it out, and that they come back to a lot of those like later in the game and even later in that first half. So it's a feeling out process. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah. Well, and honestly, every offense in the country does that. I mean, it's not just something that Sark is so smart he does. Everybody does it. But Sark gives you so many looks anyway. So it's difficult to defend them.
Totally agree. All right, let's thank our final sponsor before we answer a few more questions. Our friends over at South Point Dodge, and then we'll answer some questions as we approach the end of our live stream. But thank you very much to our friends at South Point Dodge. You can score an easy extra point this season when you get to the point with our friends at South Point Dodge. They have over 600 vehicles in stock right now, including the all-new 2025 Ram 1500. Get the real deal today and drive away in the all-new Ram 1500, proven to last. Plus, right now, you get employee incentive pricing. That's right. You pay what the employees pay right now at South Point Dodge. That's a fancy way of saying you get the employee discount at South Point Dodge. That's the real deal. You can go check them out in South Austin off of I-35, or you can go to southpointdodge.com. Make it easy on yourself and check out their fantastic inventory there as well. Whether you need a car, a truck, trade-in, something new, something used, our friends at South Point Dodge are Austin's automotive everything. So get the real deal today and drive away in a brand new car from our friends over at South Point Dodge. So thank you very much to South Point Dodge, southpointdodge.com. All right, a couple of more questions here as we approach the end of the live stream. How about this one from Sugarcane Daddy? He says, how far are we from having those Saban practices where each practice was a reckoning? Where basically the practices are harder than 80% of your games because you're playing against elite talent. Like Texas had the most players drafted in the NFL the last 2 years, and you're going up against NFL talent every day in practice. And that's probably better talent than you're going to face on Saturday, unless you're playing Ohio State or Georgia or, throw Oklahoma or A&M in there too, I guess, Florida may be in that group, but most teams they're going to be able to match the talent Texas has player for player, position by position. And so what are your thoughts, you guys? You think Texas is there? I think they are at that point, if that's what he's describing.
Ooh, I think they're close. I think they're close. They might be a year or two away from getting back to those Saban teams. I think that's the standard of college football, not just over the last 15, 20 years, but maybe ever, right? And of course, we've heard all the stories from TJ Yeldon to Derrick Henry, Mark Ingram, all these guys saying, I hated going in practice, but I loved playing the games because it was easier than what I saw in practice. So is that where Texas is right now? It's probably the closest that they've been since the early 2000s. But I think they still are a class away from even getting into this conversation for now.
Yeah, if you look at like the blue chip ratio that Bud Elliott has, the only teams that I think they have, Ohio State is ahead of Texas. Teams that they play that are ahead of them, I'm saying. I think it's Ohio State that's ahead of them in terms of the blue chip ratio they play. Georgia was still ahead of them in blue chip ratio, which is the percentage of blue chips on your roster. And honestly, I thought he had the Aggies up there. I want to say that
Yeah.
Bud Elliott had the Aggies up there really high, like as many as Texas, right in the vicinity of Texas too. So they don't play too many teams on their roster that have their kind of talent. But like you're saying, those Bama, basically the scouts, they wanted to go to the practices for Bama. They didn't care about the games because they knew this practice I'm gonna have more NFL. I can see more NFL players here in this practice than I will going to a game where they play Kentucky. That was the reality of it.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Sugar Cane Daddy. We appreciate that. How about this one? Hookem from Arkansas. We appreciate the question. Says, hey guys, just got off work. My question is, will we be able to score on the 1 yard line more this season, or is our O-line still questionable until we play? What are your thoughts, Coach? Texas is going to be able to play some bully ball this year when they get in short yardage on the goal line?
I say yes to the first question and yes to the second question. I mean, yes, I think we'll find a way to get the ball in the end zone. I mean, it's just like, Sark's still saying how hard they went through the offseason working on their red zone offense and working on the goal line stuff. They're not idiots. They know what their weaknesses are. They know what to work on. But having said that, our O-line is questionable until we play. We don't know for sure what we have until we play. And unfortunately, or fortunately, I'm not sure. It depends on how the game comes out. You're going up against the returning national champion and the somebody that's in the top 3 of everybody's poll, maybe top 2. And so they'll have to grow up real fast, but I still have faith in them, but they're still questionable until we get them on the field and see.
I say yes, just in the sense that if you need 1 yard, you should be in the QB sneak formation. You should have your 6'4", 225 quarterback just fall forward. That's all you need to do. If you need 1 yard, 2 or 3, hey, all right, let's let the offensive line and running backs work. But that should be your solution.
Should be. It wasn't guaranteed last year. They had to try a couple of times when Arch got in the QB sneak, but I agree with TJ. The QB sneak is the most successful short yardage play in football at any level. That should solve some of your issues, and then a healthier Jarrett Gibson who can run downhill. But Texas offensive line, although big, was not necessarily a bully ball offensive line. They didn't necessarily push teams around. Hopefully this is a new offensive line and they'll have that, that kind of ability as an O-line. All right. Got a couple of super chats before we end things. How about this one from Eric76? Thank you for the super chat, Eric. It says, what's more important this year against lower level teams? Playing second and third string players for experience, or Arch and the offense gaining experience together and learning more situational football, i.e. the red zone? Thank you, Eric. That's a good question, Coach. What are your thoughts about that? What's more important? So we're talking about those games after Ohio State, them 3 games is definitely in there. And Mississippi State, I guess, may be in there too. You probably got like 4 or 5 of them where you're probably going to end up with a big lead early in them games.
Yeah. I kind of divided up into segments of 3. A third, 3/3. The first third, of course, you're even against Sam Houston State. You're going to have all your guys playing. And then after that, you start sprinkling guys in. You don't make wholesale changes. You sprinkle guys in and get them playing time, get them reps, get them game experience. And then, of course, when the game is really out of hand and you pull off the dogs, you let everybody in, keep your guys fresh. But I just don't see us, especially at running back, I just don't see us, keeping our ones in there much longer than we have to, just because, we need to buy time with those guys to get Baxter back on the field and get some of those young guys some reps and see what you really have in that room.
Yeah, I think it's very important to get as many guys reps as possible. If things go according to plan with your first team, you should have all the red zone snaps that you need, right? That's your first half against all 3 of these non-conference teams before SEC play begins. Do your work in the first half, get out second, third drive of the third quarter and rest, because there's nothing anyone cares about in the third quarter of a Sam Houston State game when you got all of the SEC ahead of you and all of the college football down the road. So get your work done in the first half and get everybody else who maybe needs some developmental time on the field. Get Anthony Hill, Colin Simmons, Arch Manning off the field and move on to the next week when it's out of hand.
Yeah. I agree with that. I think you got to keep Arch healthy. That's just it. That's the number
First
one
and foremost.
Yeah, and I saw people in the chat talking about when he does run, protect himself. the reports are that his uncles and his granddad, that's one of the main themes when they text with him. Hey, protect yourself, young man. Get down, get out of bounds, make good decisions. Because one of the only things, knock on wood, that can derail this hype train would just be an injury to Art. So I'm with you. I think get the and Sark has always said it. Let's get the depth pieces in there because a lot of those battles are still happening. Those 3 games after Ohio State, I think your backup quarterback position may be settled in them games. You got some other guys who are battling out for second team on depth charts that may be settled in those games. There's a lot still to be settled, and I think that's why the second and third string guys are going to dominate those games, in my opinion. They should. All right, thank you for that, Eric. Last one here from Rocky P says, seems like the last 2 to 3 recruiting classes, Sark has a couple of 3 stars that outplay their ranking out of the gate. Who are the likely candidates in 2026 to outplay? Oh, interesting. Who are the 3 stars that kind of outplay their ranking? I mean,
in this class, I really like Yaheem Riley, the defensive back, plays nickel, plays some safety out of Austin. He was previously at LBJ, now Austin Anderson. Local guy, didn't do a lot of camps, 3-star guy, not a whole lot of publicity on the recruiting trail, but Houston loved him immediately. And the minute Texas offered him, he said, I want to be at Texas, right down the road from home. That's one that I look at. And again, knowing who he works with in the offseason, band performance, Bernard Blake, to get his feet right, to get his athleticism, I would say that history of development there has worked out pretty well for the Longhorns. He's going to be the next in line there. And he's already familiar with a lot of the guys on the roster at the moment. I'm looking at him as that underrated gem in this class.
Well, I like that. That's good. Yeah, who's that? In 2020, Tynee Smith, wasn't he one of them, basically?
Yeah.
Tynee Smith, a very kind of 3-star guy. I think like Alex January, somebody like that. That's good. That's the value you get these days with those kind of players who end up outperforming their recruiting ranking, but do it early. Like in the first year they're on campus at Texas. All right, thank you for that, Rocky P. Appreciate it. Thank you to Matthew behind the scenes, always doing a great job. We appreciate him. He's the real MVP. I did say that I give you guys details about the Texas tour that we're having with our friends over at Third and Longhorn. Just really quickly, we're going to be as a On Texas family visiting Austin, and that's going to be the 19th of August at Schultz's Beer Garden. On the 20th of August, we're going to be in Houston at the Social Beer Garden, a lot of beer. 8/21 on the 21st of August, we're going to be in Dallas, Texas at the Happiest Hour. And you can RSVP and get VIP tickets at thirdlonghorn.com. You RSVP for free or purchase your VIP passes at that link, the thirdlonghorn.com. You can go check it out there. Thank you very much, Matthew. So that is the details on our Texas tour. If you're in the neighborhood or you got some time, we'd love to see you out there. Always good to meet the Longhorn family, whether it be OTF family or our Third Longhorn family. All right. Thank you to CJ as well. We appreciate you, CJ, all of your hard work. Thank you, Coach. Appreciate all the wisdom and the levity. Thank you, guys. Is Coach going to come on the tour?
I'll be at the Dallas.
Hey, I didn't know that.
Hour.
Ooh, yeah, I didn't know that. All right. See, I just found that out too. All right, so that's why that one's selling out, because Coach coming. All right, all right. Thank you to all you guys for the super chats. Really, really appreciate all you guys. Thanks for your participation, for Matthew and for Coach and for CJ. I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers. Until next time, hook 'em horns.